Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Spiked Gaming. Today we're going to be talking about Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Now today we're actually going to be talking about some of the reviews on Breakpoint. I'm going to be giving my opinion on what I actually think about the game. As of right now, we have Metacritic open. We're seeing that the game has a score of 58 with a user score of 2.2. It's not great. Now we're going to be looking at reviews from GamesRadar, GameSpot, USA Today, and IGN. I will post the links in the comments or down in the description, and you guys can go and read these reviews yourself. This is just all these opinions that I'm going to say are all based on the reviews that they've put up and my experience in the game. I've been playing the game for a little bit now. I'm still working on my playthrough videos, editing, doing jump cuts and stuff like that. So if you have time, go check those out, and then we can experience the game together. But for now, this is going to be my opinion on Breakpoint and my opinion on the reviews by these so-called critics. First of all, I know I'm late to the game. There's tons of reviews out there that you can go and read that tell you, what these critics think about the game. They'll even brag. I know some. I think GamesRadar and I think like IGN post right like before the article how many hours the reviewer spent in the game. Some people say 35, 39 hours. Honestly, I feel like when it comes to video games that have a lot of detail, Breakpoint does have. That maybe isn't enough. That's less than a day's worth of... No, that's a little bit over a day's worth of gameplay. Not continuously, but I don't feel like 39 or 35 hours is enough investment to truly get an appreciation of the game. After all, when we buy our games, we play these games for more than 35, 39 hours. I know I've already played more than that, and I haven't even progressed halfway through the story. That's because I'm sort of getting to know the game, doing side missions, just exploring. Most people complain so far about the terrain of the game. They say it's hard to traverse, the map's too big. They complain about the AI, which I have to agree the AI is a little stupid. Graphical bugs, which I've experienced, and they say that the features in the game, the format of the way the features are included are a little cluttered. They're including too many features from various other Ubisoft titles. Like, for instance, Ghost Recon is supposed to be a tactical shooter, but they're incorporating elements of like looter shooters. They're incorporating elements of like RPGs, light RPG elements. They're trying to do survival. They're trying to do all kinds of things, put them all into one, and as they're trying to basically perfect all of these different features in one game, because they're trying to do too much, they end up perfecting none of them, and it just feels sort of cluttered. And we'll talk about that. Now, one complaint so far was GamesRadar reviewer Mike Epstein, where he said the mission system for Breakpoint is too streamlined. Missions in the game progress much like those in Wildlands, and the player's tasks with finding clues and investigating them until they're led to whatever objective it is that they're trying to complete. Difference between Breakpoint and Wildlands is that you're given an option on how to play the game. The first way is that the player is given an on-map waypoint, essentially leading them around to the clues that they need to find. Essentially, the player is having their hand held and they're being guided to where they need to go. Wildlands was like this from the get-go, right? When you started off your first missions, whenever you would go into the mini-map, you would see those little yellow file folders that basically told you where you needed to go. You'd enter the mission location, and then once in the mission location, it was pretty much up to you to figure out the rest. Same here in Breakpoint. You can play it like that, where you're led to where you need to go, and then once you enter the mission location, you sort of need to figure out how to accomplish your objective. Players can also choose to play in what's known as exploration mode, which comes with less hand-holding, and will have you actually exploring I still don't know how to pronounce it. Aurora, by reading clues that are carefully set out throughout your missions, and basically tell you where you need to go to find and accomplish certain objectives. But you're no longer being led by hand where to go. You're not given a waypoint on the map. You're just sort of given general locations, and it's up to you to find out how to get there. And if you go on the Ubisoft website, they tell you this is the intended form of play for Breakpoint. So I don't know why Epstein didn't mention this. He's saying that yes, the missions are streamlined. Yes, but they're only streamlined if you want them to be streamlined. They're not forcing the streamlining on you. You have more than one way to play. Now, I don't know why he didn't mention this. Maybe he didn't pay enough attention to the tutorial. Maybe he just didn't put enough effort into actually reviewing the game. Honestly, I've noticed a trend in game reviews and just in reviews in general, with people just wanting to be the guy that finds something wrong with what they're reviewing. And I'm not saying that this is what it is, but who knows? I mean, maybe he came into writing this review with the expectation that he was going to find something he didn't like, and when he found this, he decided to just run with it. But yeah, the missions are streamlined if you want them to be streamlined. You could also choose exploration mode and have them not be as hand-holdy easy as Wildlands was, and you could actually do a little bit more of the legwork when it comes to trying to figure out how to accomplish your objectives. Truth is, exploration mode actually is really good. It helps, at least for me, it helps me get immersed, creates a lot of immersion, and because you have to actually put in the work of making sure you're reading your clues carefully and trying to figure out where it is that you need to go, instead of accepting mission, opening up the minimap, going, oh, okay, there's the waypoint, getting into a helicopter and then just flying straight to it. If you want to play a more streamlined way, though, you do have the option, because I know there are players out there who maybe don't want to do this extra legwork, who maybe just want to know where they need to go so they can keep progressing the story. What I will agree with Epstein, and not just Epstein, but a lot of other critics, is that the mission formats are incredibly repetitive. You show up to your mission area. You clear out the baddies, you pick up your loot, you pick up the whatever knick-knack you need to find there, you find the person you're looking for, what have you. Essentially show up, you shoot baddies, you collect the objective, you move on, rinse and repeat. The missions become incredibly repetitive, and not that it makes the game any less fun, because the maneuvering and the shooting is still a huge part of Ghost Recon, and it's part of what makes the game fun, but you tend to notice that, yeah, you're pretty much doing the same thing over and over again. There's not a lot of variation. Like in Wildlands, you're also given a wide variety of weapons to choose from, some which you can find in weapons crates, buy in the in-game store for in-game currency, although I know there are some microtransactions available weapons, but for the most part you can find them in-game. They can be dropped by enemies, they can be purchased in store, they can be even unlocked from crates, and you're allowed pretty much the same level of customizations that you were allowed in Wildlands. You can change out the barrels, the optics, you can change out the magazine capacities, add grenade launchers, depending on the type of weapon that you're using. But what I like about Ghost Recon is that they've implemented a sort of crafting system which allows you to dismantle guns that you're not going to use. Let's say you're going around shooting some of these wolves and they drop a couple light machine guns, but you're not really a light machine gun user. You can dismantle the guns and get metal weapon parts, other things like that then you could use to upgrade your weapon. And I like that because it adds an extra layer of customizability. And something about me, I'm a sucker for customizability. I love games that allow me to customize my player extensively and create a playstyle more fitting to what I like to do. And some of the things that Breakpoint allows you to do is when you add these extra customizable, or you add these extra upgrades, is it'll let you do things like, for instance, reload faster, do a little bit more damage, maybe make your gun a little more accurate, give it a little bit longer range. And this is beyond the buffs that are given to your weapons from adding things like an extended barrel or like foregrips or anything like that. Like, those give you buffs, right? But then these upgrades give you, a little bit more. They go beyond the extensions. And I like that because you can really customize your weapon to fit your preferred playstyle. And I love that so much. Now, most of the reviewers that I found online, they were giving criticism to the sort of survivalism elements that they try to incorporate into the game. Now, these elements are in the form of these, like, field-like camps. What are they called? Biovox? Biovox, something like that. I don't even know if I'm probably butchering that word. But yeah, it's in the form of these, like, field camps where you can go, you set up camp, and you can do things like eat, drink, do a weapons check, craft. It creates a little bit more immersion as you're exploring the map. You don't have to constantly go back to home base. You can find these areas where you can camp and do your weapons checks and do all kinds of stuff that I guess, real soldiers do. I don't know. I've never been in the military, but, it adds a sense of realism. The only problem with the survivalism elements of the game is that they're not fully fleshed out, and in some instances are kind of just comically silly. One example of this is the fact that you can make C4 by just using peppers. Those must be some hot fucking peppers. But the thing that I like about these Biovox is that you can use them to further customize the way that you play the game. Not only can you customize your weapon, but now you can go to these like forward, operating camps and give yourself specific buffs based on the mission that you're going to be undertaking. For instance, if you're going to a mission that you think is going to have a large amount of enemies and you might be taking more damage than usual, you can eat something and now you have a higher tolerance pain. You can end up taking more hits because you take less damage. Or you can do a weapons check to increase your accuracy if you think you're going to be doing a mission where, for instance, you're going to be doing a lot of sharpshooting. You can do a lot of crafting there, which is pretty cool too. But yeah, like you can use these little points to like create a forward operating base where you could start getting ready for your mission, start changing out your loadout, start giving yourself some buffs depending on how you think you're going to play the next mission. So for me, it just adds, again, another layer of customizability. Even though these buffs are temporary, they're about an hour long, it still adds that extra layer, and for me, that's the shit. I love it. I love doing them. I love using them, although, again, they're not super fleshed out. I feel like they could have done a lot more to flesh these things out. Like, for instance, when you eat, your guy eats something that kind of looks like shit, but when you eat, you're given a buff of, oh, okay, well, now he can take more damage. I feel like it would have been better if we were really going to use these RPG elements and incorporate them into the survival mode, if they would have done something like recipes. You can find different recipes, and different recipes would give you different buffs. For instance, if you eat that fucking turd that he eats during the original animation, it makes it so he takes less damage. But if he uses a different recipe, perhaps it would boost his stamina, or make it so that his stamina doesn't decrease as quickly as it does in the game. Maybe it makes him more accurate. I don't know. Well, the accuracy thing already happens with the weapons check, but if they would implement something where they have different sort of recipes that do different buffs, that would have been more fleshed out than what they have now, where he just eats and then just the eating gives him a little bit more damage protection. Or doing a weapons check, maybe if you do different types of weapons checks, you can buff your weapon in different ways. Maybe you can reload faster. Maybe your weapon's a little bit more accurate. Maybe, I don't know. Just you're given a boost as to how much more ammo you can carry. But no, everything is just sort of plain and simple, and it's not very fleshed out. And that's one of the criticisms they had. But overall, I still feel like it's a start of, like, who knows, maybe in the next Ghost Recon they'll flesh it out more. I still thought it was a pretty nifty feature because it does add to the immersion of the game. So honestly, I was not super impressed by it, but I was happy that it was included. The one thing, though, that I feel like a lot of people also said, Mark Epstein and a couple of the guys that wrote reviews, things that they've said that they could really do without, is the gear score system in the game. And I agree. I thought overall it was super inconsequential. I think it was Richard Wakeling of GameSpot. He states that, yeah, he's the one that said it was inconsequential. And it really is. You find yourselves usually looking for loot drops or weapon crates, because you're trying to like find the weapons that'll grant you the highest damage per second, right? You're trying to find weapons that'll do the most amount of damage. Or maybe if you're like someone who's into sniping, you're trying to find something with a higher range and higher accuracy. There's specific specs that each person looks for depending on their playstyle. And honestly, for me, I don't usually look at the gear score. If I find a new weapon with a higher gear score but does slightly less damage than the weapon that I currently already have, I just dismantle the weapon that I found. I don't use it. I guess I don't really understand the idea of the gear score. I know that the higher your gear score is, maybe the more efficient your weapon is. It makes it so that you're more deadly when it comes to facing higher level enemies, like the wolves that you encounter in the first in your introductory mission. They're pretty high weapon scored characters themselves. I remember when I took out one of them, and then the second guy that ended up spotting me double tapped me, and I was done. So I know that if you raise your weapon score, you're a little bit more deadly. But overall, I think like that's just kind of a silly little feature, because regardless of my overall score, if I just feel like the specs and the weapons that I currently have outweighs the whole having a higher weapon score with new weapons I found, then I just don't use the new weapons. I dismantle them. I get rid of them. It's completely inconsequential to me. I don't see the point for the gear score. And honestly, if tomorrow they released a patch for the game that completely got rid of it, nothing of value would be lost, in my opinion. And I agree with that. Most reviewers said that the gear score was inconsequential, and I agree 100% on that. That's one thing that they should have never added. It's something that if they got rid of it, I think most of us would probably be a lot happier with. And earlier I mentioned that the AI is subpar, or it's not good, and boy, the fuck is it not good. I feel like the AI in Wildlands was a little bit more aggressive and tactical. I find myself like shooting some of the AI here in this game in Breakpoint, and expecting them to like come at me. Just the way they're portrayed when you first start the game, they're portrayed as like, oh wow, you gotta be careful. These guys are really fucking. They're really threatening operators. They know what they're doing. You know, high level tactical fucking geniuses. And then you shoot a guy in the chest, and then they just sort of either all rush at you at once, which just makes them incredibly easy to pick off, especially if you're using like a light machine gun, because you can just mow them down. Or they'll take cover and they just sort of run between cover, and they don't often, or at least I've had situations where they don't even assault my position. They just keep taking cover, and at that point, it's just like, okay, I guess it's up to me to go hunt them down. And it just seems like the AI, one, it's not as aggressive as Wildlands, at least in my experience. It's not as aggressive as Wildlands. Two, it's not even super, like, I never feel like I'm in danger when I encounter enemy soldiers out on the road, because they're just not good at fighting. The AI is fucking terrible. And not that the AI in Wildlands was a lot better, but the enemy AI in Wildlands was at least more aggressive. I don't know about friendly AI, because again, you're not running through Breakpoint with a squad of 3 other guys like you were in Wildlands. But I remember the friendly AI in Wildlands fucking sucked. Like, it was bad. Like, I remember having like Holt walking out in front of a bunch of Santa Blanca guys, and they didn't notice each other. Like, I'm crouching, therefore I'm hidden. Not if you're walking in front of the fucking guy. Like, it was retarded. And I don't feel like they did much to really boost up the AI in Breakpoint. It's still a bunch of retards running around with rifles. You know what I don't like about the game is as much as I do like the overall terrain, a lot of people don't like the terrain. They say it's too vast, it's too mountainous. I like it. I think it's fucking cool. It's got a bunch of different biomes, which I enjoy having to deal with the different tactical, like considerations you need to make, whether you're fighting in snow or in an open field or in a wooded area. I'm down for that shit. It's the same thing that we saw in Wildlands. However, Auroa has a lot of mountains, and a lot of people find the terrain very hard to traverse. I personally don't really mind it. I think it's cool. But still, we're going to go and look at some of the one of the graphical issues that I've been having. And if you go look at my videos, and this is another one of the complaints that I mentioned earlier, if you go into the graphical issues, I thought it was my capture card that was causing these graphical issues when I was recording, because there's something that just happens like on the top left-hand corner of the screen where shit flickers. At first, I thought that was my capture card that was doing that, until I started playing my own personal campaign that I wasn't using for streaming or using for making videos. And I was playing, and as I'm going through certain levels, it starts doing that little flicker. Another thing that I found, and it's incredibly annoying, is sometimes the skin for the lens on my optics, it starts glitching out. So you'll be aiming down the sight, and you're capping fools left and right, and all of a sudden your fucking lens starts doing this, and you can't see shit. So you got to hip fire. And yeah, there definitely are some graphical issues that need to be dealt with, and that's definitely one of them. Overall, though, I don't think that the 58 score and the 2.2 user score on Metacritic is justified. I don't think the game is that bad, honestly. Like I was saying, the missions, they're streamlined, yes, but you have an option to play. Is the survival biovac system, whatever, very bare bones and not super fleshed out? Yes, but it still adds, certain tactical considerations, and it still adds in a sense to immersion that wasn't present in Wildlands. The gear score system we can get rid of. It's trash. The way that they handle weapon customization now, I feel is superior to Wildlands. The fact that enemies can now drop loot, and the loot they drop might be higher level weapons than what you have, I like that. That wasn't in Wildlands. The enemies' weapons in Wildlands were trash. Yours were, to me, they were always better. Here, they might drop better weapons than you. That's dope. Yeah, overall, I think I wouldn't get, out of 5, I'd give the fucking, or let's say this, out of 10, it's about a 7.5. It's passable. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It just came out, so I'm pretty sure they're going to add more content later on. Some things might change. It's a good game. 58 out of 100, I wouldn't say that. Let's give this a C. What's that, like a 75%? I think it's a pretty good game, straight up. And what I like most of all is Ghost War in this, the PvP mode. I really enjoy it in this game as opposed to Wildlands, where like one of the things that annoyed me in Wildlands was leveling up Nomad, or my Nomad, giving him high level weapons, going around and just making him an overall badass, only to have Ghost War come out and not be able to use my character from my single player campaign in Ghost War. I had to level up a whole new character just for PvP. And it's the one thing that kept me from playing that shit. Because I'm not going to fucking do that. I already have a character I like. Why am I going to waste time leveling up these pre-made fucking classes that I don't even want to play as, that I have to go and acquire all these weapons that I already have all over again? I didn't like that. The new one lets you bring in your in-story character, your in-story Nomad, into the multiplayer experience, meaning you can bring in your weapons, you can bring in your overall aesthetic look, and it looks I fucking enjoy that. So I actually really enjoyed Ghost War in the new Ghost Recon a lot more than in Wildlands. And actually, the PvP mode in this is even more evidence that gear score is completely inconsequential, because in PvP, your gear score means jack shit. It's not even taken into consideration. So if it doesn't mean shit in PvP, let's just make it not mean shit in single player. And please, Ubisoft, get fucking rid of it. It's so stupid. Anyway, that's been my opinion. Do you agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Or give it a dislike again if you disagree. You don't always have to agree. And let me know what you think. This has been Spike Gaming. Thank you guys for